You think you know Tom Smith, the loud, funny, and sometimes wild mechanic from Misfit Garage? The guy who could fix almost anything, but also cause a whole lot of trouble? Well, get ready, because the Tom Smith you saw on TV was just one part of the story. This is the untold story of the cars Tom Smith truly loved, the ones he worked on when no one was watching, and the wild rides that shaped the man behind the wrench. The Aqua Car. For Tom, one car stands out in a truly unforgettable and rather wet way, a humble 1970s Gremlin. The Gremlin was already a strange-looking car to begin with, a quirky machine that divided opinions. But this particular one, despite its odd appearance, ran just fine. Tom's task was not to fix its engine, but to transform its look, to give it a fresh, new style, something that would make it stand out in a good way. He poured his effort into it, likely working long hours, meticulously trying to make every line and every detail perfect. He sanded, he painted, he polished, all to create a masterpiece. But when he finally stepped back to admire his finished work, a wave of pure, unadulterated disappointment washed over him. He hated it. He absolutely detested the final look, finding it far below his own high standards. It was a creative nightmare, a vision gone wrong. So what does a frustrated creative mechanic do with a car he cannot stand to look at, a project that has become a symbol of his own dissatisfaction? Tom, being Tom, decided to do something completely wild, something no one would ever expect, something that screamed his unique brand of madness. He decided to experiment. He built a makeshift boat on top of the car. Imagine that, a clunky Gremlin, already an oddity on the road, now adorned with a crude boat strapped to its roof, ready for a watery adventure. It was a sight that would have stopped traffic, a bizarre contraption born of frustration and a twisted sense of humor. He then drove this strange Frankenstein-like creation straight into a lake. It was a moment of pure, unbridled Tom Smith madness, a defiant act against a car he despised. He probably envisioned it floating, a triumphant, if ridiculous, success. But the experiment did not go as planned. The car, with its homemade boat, sank, slowly disappearing beneath the murky water. And with it, Tom's heart sank too, a heavy feeling of failure settling in. This was a taste of the unpredictable nature that would later make him a fan favorite on television, a hint of the raw, unscripted drama that followed him long before the TV cameras started rolling and the world began to watch his every move. The cars of Fired Up Garage. The world first truly met Tom Smith on the hit show Fast and Loud, where he worked his magic at Richard Rawlings' Gas Monkey Garage. He was a key part of the team, known for his sharp skills and his one-of-a-kind personality. But as many fans know, Tom and his fellow mechanic Jordan Butler did not stay at Gas Monkey Garage. Their exit was dramatic, a moment that sparked a whole new chapter in their lives and on television, leading them to a new garage and a new set of challenges. The official story, as told on screen, was that Tom Smith and Jordan Butler were fired from Gas Monkey Garage after a big argument. The reason given was that they allowed a fan to pose for a picture with Richard Rawlings' prized Rolls-Royce without getting permission first. This seemingly small act led to a heated verbal showdown with the on-duty manager, and Tom Smith, in his characteristic fiery style, swore at him. This incident, whether real or exaggerated for television, created a deep rift between Tom, Jordan, and Richard Rawlings, turning their relationship sour and setting the stage for a dramatic rivalry. But here is where the story gets even more interesting and a little bit twisted, revealing the hidden layers behind the reality TV facade. While the show painted this as a real bitter feud, many people believe it was all staged for the cameras, a carefully crafted storyline to boost ratings. The evidence points to this being a manufactured drama. Richard Rawlings, the very person they were supposedly feuding with, was actually an executive producer of Misfit Garage. He was even listed as the creative talent, meaning he had a lot of control over the show's direction and script. He owned the very shop where Fired Up Garage was set up and was even in charge of the show's money, pulling the strings behind the scenes. This means the constant arguments, the dramatic disputes, and the heated exchanges between the Misfit Garage crew and Richard Rawlings were likely faked to make the show more exciting and draw in more viewers, turning a car show into a high-octane soap opera. Regardless of whether the feud was real or a clever trick, the firing led to something big, something that changed the course of Tom's career. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler teamed up with two other skilled mechanics, Thomas Weeks and Scott McMillan, to start their own company, Fired Up Garage. This new garage was meant to be a rival to Gas Monkey, a place where they could prove they had what it takes to run a successful car business free from Richard's shadow. The name Fired Up Garage itself was a nod to Tom's childhood dream, a secret ambition he had held for years. When he was just a kid, he had a toolbox where he wrote, "Our customers have been satisfying us since 1973, and he always dreamed of owning a garage called F&U Garage." So, Fired Up Garage was born, a symbol of their new beginning, a playful jab at their old boss, and a realization of a lifelong dream. This dramatic start set the stage for Misfit Garage, a show that quickly became a hit in its own right, running for 6 seasons and captivating audiences with its unique blend of car building and personal drama. It was a show centered around these so-called rejects, but it quickly gained a huge fan base, drawn in by the raw energy and unpredictable nature of the crew. The drama, the arguments, and the wild car projects became the main reasons people tuned in, eager to see what chaos and creativity would unfold next. But even with all the on-screen excitement, there were many hidden truths about the cars and the work that went on behind the scenes, making even the public projects a part of Tom's never showed the public story. At Fired Up Garage, Tom Smith and the team worked on a wide variety of cars, each with its own story, its own set of challenges. They took old, rusty machines and breathed new life into them, bringing them back to their former glory, or sometimes to a dramatic and unexpected end. These were the cars that became famous on the show, but the full story of their journey and Tom's deep involvement often went deeper than what viewers saw. One of the early projects that truly showcased Tom's skills was fixing a 1969 Barracuda that Thomas found. This was a chance for Tom to dive deep into a classic muscle car, meticulously working to restore it to its former glory, making every detail perfect. They also tackled a 1931 Ford Model A frame, which was basically just a shell, a skeleton of a car. This meant they needed a lot of new parts, like doors, to build it out into a hot rod, a custom creation from the ground up. It was a big project, requiring a lot of custom work, creative problem-solving, and immense patience, a true test of their building abilities. The team also became masters of the car flip, turning old vehicles around for a quick profit. They successfully flipped a 1951 Chevy truck, buying it cheap, fixing it up, and selling it for more money. Flipping cars was a common and essential part of their business, a way to keep the lights on and the projects moving forward. Tom and Thomas even considered working on a 1973 Firebird, another classic American car that promised a thrilling restoration. But not all projects went smoothly or even ended with a beautifully restored car. In one shocking episode, a 1971 Pontiac GTO that Tom and Thomas bought was intentionally destroyed, a moment that left viewers stunned. The body was badly rusted, beyond easy repair. But instead of simply scrapping it, the Fired Up Garage team took the GTO to a field and, in a dramatic display of mechanical might, crushed it with a tank. This extreme act was supposedly done to teach Thomas Weeks a lesson in manners, a destructive and unforgettable way to make a point on national television. In another dramatic turn, a customer's car was even smashed by a fallen tree in Season 1, adding to the chaos and unexpected challenges that seemed to plague the garage. These moments, while shocking, were often part of the show's scripted drama, designed to keep viewers hooked and the ratings soaring. Despite the on-screen drama and occasional destruction, Tom was involved in many successful flips and builds that showcased his genuine talent. He and Thomas Weeks managed to get a 1957 Corvette for a bargain, a true steal that promised a significant return. They later sold this classic Corvette for a hefty $80,000, a testament to their restoration skills and business savvy. They also took on a challenging project for a client named Sue Yulan Martin, working on her 1956 Ford truck. This particular job was a marathon, taking over 3 weeks just for the paint job alone, a meticulous process that demanded perfection. When Tom realized he had overspent on this demanding project, he had to quickly flip other cars to make up the money, including a 1955 Dodge Royal Lancer and a 1964 Thunderbird, showcasing his ability to adapt and hustle. He even had to humble himself and ask Sue for an advance, a rare moment of vulnerability for the usually confident mechanic. Other notable projects that passed through the doors of Fired Up Garage included turning a 1969 Plymouth Satellite into a powerful racer, fitting it with a monstrous 750 horsepower engine that roared with raw power. They also worked on a 1941 Ford, planning to transform it into a flaming blue hot rod and even a food truck, showing Tom's diverse and sometimes quirky ideas for cars. Later, they tackled a rusty 1961 Ford Econoline, a project that even caught the eye of actor Danny Trejo, who considered buying it. They also worked on a 1940 Ford Tudor sedan for a Moonshine Runner project, a nod to classic American folklore, and attempted to rebuild a very rough 1959 Chevy El Camino, a challenging endeavor given its poor condition. The show also featured a rare 1965 Ford Sunliner, a beautiful classic that caused some heated arguments over its color and potential resale value, highlighting the constant tension and differing opinions within the garage. Thomas even took a high-stakes gamble on a Ferrari 400 Thunder with a V12 engine, a risky move that could have either paid off big or led to financial disaster. And for one of their next big projects, the Misfits prepared to work on a rare 2WD 1978 Blazer, always looking for the next unique challenge. These cars, whether meticulously restored, quickly flipped, or dramatically destroyed, were the public face of Tom Smith's work at Fired Up Garage. But the show itself, as many viewers eventually realized, was often more about entertainment and manufactured drama than pure, unadulterated car building. Many elements, including the constant arguments, the dramatic setbacks, and even some of the mechanical problems, were faked for the cameras, carefully scripted to create compelling television. The garage itself, Fired Up Garage, was mostly just a TV set, not a real business that was always open to the public for walk-in customers. This hidden truth about the show's reality adds another layer to the cars he never showed the public, because even the ones he did show were part of a carefully crafted story, a performance for the masses, rather than a true glimpse into the everyday life of a working mechanic. To truly understand the man behind the wrench, the quick wit, and the dramatic flair, we must journey back to Tom Smith's early life, long before the cameras found him. Tom Smith did not become the talented mechanic he is known as today overnight. His skills were honed over years of training, moving from garage to garage, taking on a variety of jobs and soaking up every bit of knowledge he could. He was always eager to learn, to understand the inner workings of machines, a trait that would serve him well in his career. Even as a child, Tom showed a surprising intellect that went beyond just tinkering with cars. He was a Georgia State Spelling Bee champion, a detail that might surprise those who only know his rough-and-tumble TV persona. He also had a fascination with the problem-solving abilities of great scientists like Albert Einstein and Isaac Asimov, showing a deep curiosity that extended far beyond just turning wrenches. This intellectual side, often hidden beneath his comedic exterior, allowed him to spend countless hours studying the ins and outs of car mechanics, unraveling complex mechanical mysteries with a sharp mind. But his early life was not all about academic pursuits and quiet study. Tom had a wild streak, a rebellious spirit that led to some memorable and dangerous adventures. He openly confessed to joyriding, a habit that began long before he was old enough to legally drive. He would sneak out, taking cars from his own family members and driving them without a license on various occasions. In one unbelievable story, he claimed that while driving illegally, he once crashed into a police cruiser and was later cautioned by the police, a close call that could have ended very differently. This wild spirit eventually led him to Gas Monkey Garage, where he first gained public attention on Fast and Loud. He quickly became a fan favorite, known for his mechanical prowess and his hilarious one-liners. But as the story goes, his time there ended dramatically. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler were fired from Gas Monkey Garage after a big argument, supposedly because they allowed a fan to pose for a picture with Richard Rawlings' Rolls-Royce without permission. This incident, whether real or staged, created a deep rift between them and Richard Rawlings. However, the truth behind this dramatic exit is more complex and perhaps more calculated. Richard Rawlings, the very person who supposedly fired them, was actually an executive producer of Misfit Garage, the spin-off show that Tom and Jordan would star in. He was listed as the creative talent, meaning he had significant control over the show's direction and script. He even owned the shop where Fired Up Garage was set up and was in charge of the show's money. This suggests that the constant arguments and disputes between the Misfit Garage crew and Richard Rawlings were likely faked to make the show more exciting and draw in more viewers, turning the garage into a stage for manufactured drama. Regardless of the reality of the feud, the firing led to a new beginning. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler teamed up with two other mechanics, Thomas Weeks and Scott McMillan, to start their own company, Fired Up Garage. This new garage was meant to be a rival to Gas Monkey, a place where they could prove their skills and run a successful car business on their own terms. The name Fired Up Garage itself was a nod to Tom's childhood dream. When he was a kid, he had a toolbox where he wrote, "Our customers have been satisfying us since 1973, and he always dreamed of owning a garage called F&U Garage." So, Fired Up Garage was born, a symbol of their new beginning and a playful jab at their old boss. Misfit Garage quickly became a hit, running for 6 seasons and gaining a huge fan base. The show, centered around these so-called rejects, thrived on the drama, the arguments, and the wild car projects that became its hallmark. But even with all the on-screen excitement, the show was often more about entertainment than pure car building. Many elements, including the constant arguments and even some mechanical problems, were faked for the cameras. The garage itself, Fired Up Garage, was mostly just a TV set, not a real business that was always open to the public. Beyond the garage. While Misfit Garage showed Tom Smith as a skilled mechanic with a knack for humor and a penchant for drama, his life off-screen was just as interesting, filled with other passions and a surprising dedication to things he kept mostly private. Tom Smith is not just a mechanic, he is also a professional stand-up comedian. He has been performing at improv clubs, including the Dallas Improv Club and even the Manhattan Christie Comedy Club, for a long time. His quick wit, his sharp timing, and his funny one-liners that viewers loved on the show were not just an act for the cameras. They were a real, deeply ingrained part of his personality, a talent he cultivated long before television. He was moonlighting as a comedian even while filming Misfit Garage, and he has continued to perform live comedy sessions through the COVID-19 pandemic, proving his dedication to his craft. He even talked to reporters about his dream of bringing his comedic act to life on Misfit Garage, blending his two passions into one. Beyond cars and comedy, Tom has a big heart for animals, a compassionate side that might surprise those who only saw his fiery on-screen persona. He actively helps to rescue and transport needy dogs, a quiet act of kindness that reveals a deeper empathy. He also enjoys the more rugged pursuits of hunting and fishing, connecting with nature in his own way. After Misfit Garage ended its run in 2018, Tom Smith largely kept a low public profile, stepping away from the constant glare of the cameras. While he was very active on social media for a time, sharing glimpses of his life and projects, his recent activity has been less frequent, signaling a return to a more private existence. However, in 2023, much to the delight of his fans, he was featured on an episode of Gas Monkey Garage with Richard Rawlings, where the two looked back at their complex love-hate relationship, a reunion that brought back memories for many. In that appearance, Tom revealed that he now works at Dallas Customs and Classic, where he focuses on hot rods, continuing his passion for building and restoring unique vehicles. He has even become quite skilled at installing air conditioning units in classic cars, a specialized and often challenging area of work that requires precision and expertise. This shows that even after the TV cameras stopped rolling and the show ended, Tom's passion for cars and his hands-on work continued, just in a more private setting, away from the manufactured drama of reality television. He still repairs cars, and according to his social media, he works as a mechanic at David's Automotive Repair in the Colony, Texas, where you can actually take your car or truck to have Tom work on it. There are even rumors that he might get another auto show sometime soon, hinting that his time in the spotlight might not be over just yet. When it comes to his personal wealth or real estate, the show itself did not make its money from selling cars. The average profit from each car featured on Misfit Garage was only around $2,000, a surprisingly small amount given the effort involved. The cast members' salaries came mostly from the show's popularity, with Misfit Garage getting an impressive average of 1.3 million viewers per episode, proving that the entertainment value was far greater than the automotive profits. Tom Smith, the unforgettable mechanic from Misfit Garage, lived a life fueled by engines, laughter, and a deep, often private love for cars. From his early wild experiments like the Aqua car to the high-stakes builds on television, and his quiet dedication to comedy and animal rescue, Tom's journey was anything but ordinary.